I'd say beforehand I was not eating enough. I ended up getting quite a big problem with my heart where I was starting to pass out.
Oh shit.
Welcome back to the Lose to Win podcast with myself, Josh, and Jack. No Ben this week, but we do have a guest from our sister league, I guess we could call it, at Man v Fat Poole. Welcome, Mr. James Green. How are you, mate?
I'm great, thank you, mate. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Welcome, mate. It's an absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
The man, the myth, the legend, somebody that is an ideal person to get on here, to be honest. So, yeah, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah. I understand you're a potentially regular listener as well.
I am a regular listener.
Well, we love to hear that.
Good stuff. So you'll know a lot of what Josh is about to go through. So we'll obviously run through, just for people listening, if you're the first time, if you've stumbled across us or new to the league, we'll do a little roundup of the Bournemouth leagues last week. Generally, we use a lot of what you would have seen already from Steve's write-up, but obviously we add our own little bits and pieces to it, and then we'll introduce you to James, get to know James for the people that don't know him, and just have a bit of a chin wag. It sounds about right, doesn't it, Josh?
Yeah, about right. Yeah, we'll get to it in a sec. I just want to ask you both, how are you doing? How are you doing, Jack? I know you're obviously still not fit, but
yeah, I'm okay, mate. I've had last week was a bit of a rocky week and wasn't particularly good with my diet, and I had the opportunity to meet a mate that I'd not seen for a little while on a Thursday night. I got a message out of nowhere on the Friday night. I got a message on a Thursday saying, "Do you want to go for a beer tomorrow night?" So football, well, no football really, just getting weighed in was dropped. I don't think I was going to do a great deal of damage for anybody other than potentially negative for the team. So I knocked that on the head. And then things, as I've always been in a situation, spiral. So this week it's 1 week off has kind of rolled into two. This week is tonight is my first night home of the week so far, just from work and other bits and pieces. Inevitably, when I'm away with work, it's difficult to manage diets and do whatever. So yeah, not ideal, mate, to be honest. And I think as soon as I can get back to playing, the better. I think the old injury membership is good, but it's not for me. I want to be playing football. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's a great idea. It's a fantastic idea, and it certainly saved me some money. But I just want to be back out on the pitch with you boys and kicking the ball around.
Fair enough. I was going to say, you did ref a game for us this last Sunday, and I have to admit, I'm sure you would have been itching to be playing, mate.
Oh, mate,
James was there too, weren't you, James, mate? So
I was. I won't mention the result to you though, Josh.
Just wondering, Josh, you gonna wear goalie gloves next time, because you seem to like to handle the ball quite a bit. Obviously, leading to 2 goals, 1 penalty, and 1 free kick.
They both led to one. Don't remind me of that.
Sorry, mate. Yeah, it was harsh, but it was a good game. I think, unfortunately, the result. I think the result wasn't. Me and James were talking a moment ago. I don't think the result was a fair reflection of the game. It was obviously a landslide on the score sheet, but I was explaining how we do it, and I'm sure everybody trusts that we do it with the best intentions, but how we match people off as best we can in terms of ability and position. And I just think it just went Scott's way. Scott was pretty well organised. We were obviously joking and taking a piss out of him, setting up a WhatsApp group. But
it's good. You get organised.
He got his WhatsApp group. You saw Louis doing his warm up, while you boys were just shooting and smashing balls at Ryan. It does make a difference, I'm sure of it. But we'll do it again in the new year, I'm sure, and we'll give it a fair crack. And I hope to be playing in the next one, not bloody refereeing it.
Yeah, indeed. Well, we'll crack into the roundup, and then we'll come back to you, James, mate, and ask you how you've been doing.
Yeah, that's fine.
So Man v Fat Bournemouth a week. I don't know what it was, 10, 11?
I don't know. I don't even lost track.
Anyway, some weeks see a fine balance between success on the pitch and success on the scales, with the spoils divided in some or even all of the matches. This week, not so much. So 4 teams, yellows, oranges, blacks and purples, enjoyed a clean sweep, winning on the pitch and the scales as well, and overall, essentially. So the Greens were unlucky not to buck the losing trend, with the ringer penalties proving decisive in denying them at least a path to victory. What would have been a 2-1 pitch win turned into a 5-2 defeat, after a string of late player withdrawals, previously unknown from any team that wasn't managed by Lee Carsley, at least. So here are the results. Us yellows won 8-4 against the whites. The oranges continue to roll on 19-5 against the greens. The blacks won 16-9 against your blues. And then the purples won 17-11 against the reds.
Just quickly, the oranges to get 19 the week after doing what they did. What was it, like 29 the week before?
26 or something. 26, I don't know, 28, something like that.
So to do that back-to-back weeks is just so impressive, and they are just on a roll, aren't they? Indeed,
yeah, very, very good. I think it's probably says somewhere about where we are in terms of the run-in, so we'll see. But anyway, us yellows have had a disappointing season on the scale so far. We fully admit that. But we were the biggest losers of the week last week, with 7 out of 9 players losing, and the whole team a total of 4.6 kilos. Our strong position in the pitch league, currently second, suggests that with a few more weeks like that, we should be contenders for the main title. But hopefully this is kind of a turning point, with the promise of more to come this season and next. So the oranges with 3 kilos and the purples with 2.7 kilos were the only other teams to lose more than 2 kilos, with 3 more sides making moderate losses and 2 gaining weight. So one team had a spectacular series of gains, resulting in a sizable move in the wrong direction, unfortunately. The overall effect of all of this is the club as the whole gained more than 5 kilos. So dragging our season total back to just over 190 kilos, with I think 3 or 4 weeks to go. 3 players exited last man standing, leaving 11 to enjoy a bonus goal. As things stand, oranges are the best place to reap the rewards for the run-in, with 4 players remaining, so that's where some of that score comes from. Compared to the 2 apiece for purples, blacks and blues, with 1 for the reds. We've recorded milestones every single week of the season so far, and this week is no exception. So 2 men officially broke barriers this week, plus a couple of unofficial milestones. So Lewis Vasilina Turner only joined in week 1 of this season, but last night, I keep saying last night because I'm reading it off from a Saturday. He puts
we
it on
know
Saturday.
what you mean.
Yeah. He earned his 10%, having lost 11.1 kilos in just 10 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah. Jason Court has been with the club a lot longer, but this week his steady progress sees him join the elite 20% club, and he has lost a total of 21.3 kilos since joining, and is now within 3.5 of reaching maintenance.
Wow.
I should just say Josh Buxton hit his 15%, and Matt Waterman also hit his 30%.
Jesus.
But neither will be allowed to officially get the reward until next season.
So how many have they both got banked up? Josh has got 1 and Matt's got 2.
And Matt's got 2. Yeah.
Wow.
Matt got 3. He might have 2 as well. He might have 2. I can't remember. Sorry. Not having.
He's shouting shouting at his radio now. Yeah.
I should just say a shout out to those guys, but a huge shout out to Jason in particular. And I know Ben would have loved to have been here to talk about it, but I'm sure he won't mind. I'm sure Jason won't mind us saying that for one of the older members of the group who's been slowly and quietly chipping away at his weight week after week, to see him hit his 20% this season is a massive achievement. And us, along with the Super Purples, and in particular Ben, as he would have been here, are super proud of him and what he's achieved. And it's a massive, massive, massive thing. And we just say congratulations, really. So well done.
Yeah.
A true giant of the league. So
I don't know if you've played with him, but I was lucky enough to play with him on the whites for a couple of seasons. And he is exactly as Ben's described and as you've described in there, as an absolute gent. Very modest in terms of what he wants out of it in terms of the footballing side of things. He's quite happy to play a couple of 20 minutes. He's quite happy to play 10 minutes if he has to. He's quite happy to try and do the whole game if he has to. He's not precious about that. But he also pulls a huge shift when it comes to scales as well. And he is exactly what Ben mentioned, an absolute gent and a proper legend of the club. So well done, Jace. You are very much appreciated, mate. Well done.
Very well done. So 16 hat-tricks this week. And somehow Myself, I led the team of the week.
Yes,
right.
Josh, well
With
done.
a 2.4 kilo loss. My namesake, Josh Buxton, is the only player to retain his place,
Shock.
surprise, from last week, just for a change. The rest of the top team is made up with a healthy mix of relative newcomers and long-serving club stalwarts. So the lineup is as follows. Myself, I lost 2.4 kilos. Josh Buxton lost 2.1 kilos. Ron Ingram, a new player to the Whites on our team, is doing really well so far. He's lost 1.9 this week.
Well done,
Another
mate.
yellow, Ryan Puttick, lost 1.9 kilos.
Ryan?
Yeah, I know.
Who's
Steve
he?
Carlton,
Don't know where he got it from.
1.8 kilos. Well,
That's
yeah,
a
I
good
said
point.
that as well, yeah. Tony Wright lost 1.5 kilos. Lewis VT, as I probably butchered his last name, I should say, apologies, Lewis, if you're listening, first time around, lost 1.4 kilos. And Sid Wolford lost 1.4 kilos
Go on,
as well.
Sido.
Again, another man who I'm not really sure where it's come from, but
That's all Sunday's game, isn't it?
No,
Oh no, it wouldn't have been.
next
It wouldn't have
week.
been. Wow.
Next week, yeah. He it's good to hear so many new names in there as well, which is really good for the club. I know that we are always adding, and there's always spaces coming up, so that's really good to hear.
Yeah. Stats can be misleading, I should say. On one reading, it's been a bad week. With a gain of 5.8 kilos for the club as a whole. But we should say another 42 men lost weight. And as Team of the Week shows, some made significant steps forward. So most of this week's gainers were expecting their results, though, through a variety of exceptional circumstances, and fully expect to start turning the tide this week. So I think that kind of gives you an impression that maybe it was a little bit of a false reading. Sometimes life does get in the way, though, as despite our best intentions, we all know that we've all been there, and preventing us from making those choices we'd want to make. Sometimes, though, we can use that as an excuse. So, we've all been there with that as well. I've definitely done it. I know that for a fact.
I just gave you some a moment ago, didn't I? Just rattled off some about work and whatever before. Yeah, he's exactly right.
Yeah, but whatever your week has been like, let's refocus and go again. Making week 11, there we go, going into week 11, a significant step in the right direction for all of us. We've got this, Lance, let's do it.
The end is in sight of this season now, isn't it? It's
I know, and the year.
Well, it only means one thing, is that we're right up near Christmas as well, which is just absolutely mental and scary.
Well, there was snow today.
There was quite a bit of snow as well. Yeah. It's
unbelievable.
We're having a chat in the Blues chat, and we're dotted all over Bournemouth, really, and Bournemouth and Christchurch, and Rob had some over. I know he's near like Westmore's way, Ashley Heath way. And I was complaining I didn't have anything, and by the time, I reckon probably about half an hour later, it's absolutely come down like crazy here. I'm sure you saw it as well, just being around the corner, Josh. So sadly, the kids are at school. So by the time I picked the kids up from school, it all melted and basically disappeared. So they just got to watch it out the windows at school, which is very sad. But the dogs enjoyed it, at least. They had fun.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, I was quite surprised to wake up to it, to be honest. I didn't really think about it. I thought it's just too soon. I can't remember it snowing last year or the year before. Maybe it's just
me. It hasn't snowed properly down here for quite some time, I don't think. And we've got a bit of a running joke in the family because my parents absolutely love Costco, and we went with them one time, and they were selling these big, massive, like almost like bodyboard sledge things, and I brought one, and Lisa and I were back and forth, and my parents were pissing themselves laughing. She was like, "You'll never use it, it'll just sit in the loft the entire time." And honestly, it's still up there. I think it's been used once, and that was probably on like sleety, slushy shit snow. But I reckon I've had it about 5 years, and it's not snowed properly since, so I might have cursed it. But yeah, we do have a laugh about it. My dad called up, "Get the sledge out." It's like, no, the kids are at school, unless they're going to go down on my own with the dogs. I don't think so. So it was all good fun.
All right. Hopefully we have a snow night of football. I think I've not played in the snow, so
no, I don't think I have either.
Be freezing, but oh well. Anyway, we do have a guest, and I think it's time we get back to you, James. How have you been? How are you doing, first and foremost?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you, mate. Obviously, just getting back into the swing of my diet and going back to Man v Fat Poole. So just had my first proper week.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that then. So when did you? Obviously, you'd been in the Poole League for quite some time. When did you step away from it?
I stepped away in May after I played the Amazing Losers game at Millwall.
Okay.
Yeah.
And up to that point, how much had you lost?
I was
your
on
numbers?
I was on a 43 kilo loss.
Wow.
Overall from my start, which was about 2 years ago, I think.
And what was that percentage-wise?
It was about 38%.
Wow, mate.
That's really impressive.
That's
not just impressive. Very few people actually get there, really, don't they? That's
that's mental,
incredible.
mate. That's so
doing
good.
Doing it with a few, and obviously people like Mark and Rich Webb.
Yeah,
have always
absolutely.
sort of been there or thereabouts when I've been doing mine, so they're just people to look up to and stuff like that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
How was the Amazing Losers game?
I really, really enjoyed it. I was lucky enough to be on the winning team, so we'll take that. I won't tell Mike because he was there. So it was really. I found it a shame I wasn't on the same team as him, because people in like clubs up north and stuff were all in. Say they were from the same club, they were in the same team.
Yeah, that is a
Whereas
shame.
I know obviously Poole and Bournemouth are very close, so I thought, it'd be nice to play with someone I know.
Yeah, you'd think they'd put you together.
So yeah, that was a bit of a shame, but obviously I saw Mike before the game, said good luck and stuff.
Yeah, nice. What an experience, though, mate. That's so good.
Yeah, very good.
That's
nice
amazing.
And hot, sunny day. It was good. Managed to score a goal.
Did you?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I did. Yeah. We won 5-0. I managed to score a goal. Set up a goal as well.
Nice.
MVP.
Take the small wins. Nah, not quite MVP. Our centre midfielder was phenomenal. So.
Well, we happen to know you're a pretty handy player yourself, mate. So
absolutely, yeah. There was squabbles over who was going to get you for the Interclub on Sunday. Definitely. Don't tell Mike, but they were definitely squabbling over you. But yeah, mate, that's sick. That's so good. So what from your time? We've jumped ahead a little bit. So from your time at Poole, you said you were there for a couple of years. So do you remember what the initial kind of trigger was for you joining Poole? Was it you saw it advertised, or you tried other things? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, so I'm the same as most people. I come across it online. I come across it on Facebook before the league had even started. They were just like talking about, this is coming into your area.
Yeah.
So I signed up in the November. I didn't think it started till March.
Wow.
It was a long time coming. So I had previously done like Slimming World and stuff like that, but to get the weigh in, because I think I need the discipline, because I'm very addictive with what I do. So if I have something to focus on, I'll sort of see that as my target.
Nice.
So yeah, come across it like that.
Oh, fair enough. I was gonna say, in order to get involved, what was there? Because obviously there's some reason you joined. You saw it online, but did you do it because you felt like I need to lose weight? Did you do it initially thinking, actually, that's just football league I'll get involved in? What was the push towards doing that rather than say
so obviously
Sunday league
no, it was for both, but I also saw the football side as in like it's going to be people like me instead of getting battered in a Tuesday league or something like that, getting rinsed by some 18-year-olds that we all don't like.
Yeah.
And obviously needed to lose weight. It's a great incentive, man, be fat. So
yeah,
it's really good.
You're obviously a more than capable footballer as well. So had you played football to a certain level and a certain age, and then life happened and you stepped away from it? What does that look like for you? Was that what you were doing?
I started football, I'd say, quite late in life, so maybe about 15, 16.
Wow.
Yeah, I never really played youth level. We had an under-18s team in Swanage, where I'm from, and it was diabolical, probably the worst team there's ever been, to be honest.
Can we get in now? Do you reckon?
I reckon I'll be better now, but
yeah, absolutely, mate. Sick. Okay. And am I right in thinking that you're a pretty handy darts player as well, aren't you?
Where would you have heard that from?
Facebook, everywhere, basically.
Yeah, so I play. I'm in the county A team for Dorset at the moment.
Okay.
Which is a pretty good standard of darts, to be honest. But play with an ex-world champion in my team, which is quite nice to experience.
Wow. Who's that?
Scott Mitchell. He's there's two different sides to darts. There used to be a thing called the BDO and the Embassy, as the older people will probably remember it as. But obviously that's kind of folded now. But Scott in 2015 won that, so it's pretty cool to play with someone like that.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah.
So I guess the lifestyle that goes with, or the old lifestyle, very different now, I'm sure, but the lifestyle that goes with playing darts and smoke-filled rooms and smashing beers back, is that something you experienced, or did you miss that part of it?
I'm quite lucky. I'm not really a drinker and I don't smoke, but I'd say it's still fairly similar. The old darts diet, I'd call it. But yeah, no, I'm not really a drinker as such. I think a lot of people have a couple of nerve settlers, but yeah, I'm quite lucky in that sense where I don't really drink, and that's a good thing for my diet as well, to be honest.
Yeah. Absolutely. I heard Luke Litter on the radio this week, and they were talking about, I think at half time in the recent, I think it was Sunday while we were playing actually, wasn't it, in the recent competition, the Grand Slam final or whatever it was. He'd had a katsu curry and some squashies or something. And a boost. That's kind of like his half time or pre-game.
Unbelievable.
Meal. But I think he's known for smashing a kebab in after, and I think it's his thing.
It's funny because he's actually too young to join Man v Fat, isn't he?
Is he still too young? Is he?
Yeah, he's still too young to join.
When is he 18? Do you know, James? You might know. Is it soon?
Oh, he's only just turned 17.
Are you joking?
Yeah.
So he's probably he hasn't long turned 17. It's probably January.
Just after the World Championships, I think he turned.
Because it was so much about him being a 16-year-old. I tell you what, he is a man trapped in a boy's. He's a man trapped in a boy's body, though, isn't he? If you look at some of the way that he is, and I still can't grow any for the sake of Josh and you looking. I can't grow any facial hair, and he had 16. He had a full beard going at that last Christmas, didn't he?
So the kebabs and pints he's been knocking back.
Quite possibly, yeah. I'll tell you what, I might match him on that sort of level. I'll give him a go at that. I can't believe how quickly that's come around, by the way. Just off topic, how quickly. If you think that starts soon, didn't it, James? Is it a couple of weeks until it kicks in?
The Worlds will start in December, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to it this time round. I am a Johnny come lately and kind of got into it because of like the hype around him and everything.
It's the Littler effect is a thing.
Yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
it's mainly, if you look at any betting odds as well, it's obviously an effect because while he's I think he recently won some tournament, the Grand Slam or something like that, didn't he?
Yeah.
James, you would know better than me.
Yeah.
But he's odds-on favourite to win it at the Worlds, and I'm just like, I don't know.
He's worth a bet.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, 2-1, maybe not. I don't know. Anyway, I meant to ask you, James. We touched on obviously the whole dart diet thing, and you've obviously got involved in football when you were 15, a little bit later than some, earlier than others, I should say as well.
Yeah.
But what's your history of weight been? Did you always struggle did you get involved in football when you were younger to try and lose some weight when you were a teenager, or were you always quite athletic and you just lost some, gained it during the adult years, or what's the story?
So I've always been big through school, at school, and I don't think many people know this, but for about a 2-year period of my life, I went to foster care, and I'd probably say that's the only period of my life where I was skinnier.
Right.
Obviously, where I was. So, yeah, I've always had kind of battled with that. But funnily enough, I was never bullied. I've never been bullied for being overweight, which is what I find really strange. Because a lot of people struggle with stuff like that and sort of get their self-esteem down. But I've never suffered with that. But yeah, football, I just enjoyed playing. I much prefer playing football to playing darts, if I'm being totally honest.
Do you?
Yeah, I just wish I had the football ability instead of me darts.
Yeah, I was going to say, darts is just so good there, he can't stop.
But for having joined it so late, you'd never know, would you, Josh? You'd see him as probably somebody that's done it all the way through youth level. The footballing ability is certainly there, and it's always we're always blessed when we get an opportunity to play with you, mate. So it's fair play to you. You're clearly a talented gentleman at sport. I think. Is there any other sports that you can pick up and play, or have you tried?
Oh no, I got offered to play in the hockey team in Purbeck School, but I turned that down.
Yeah. You ever tried golf?
I'm all for golf.
Oh
like going to the driving range, but
just smashing balls. Yeah, fair
when
enough.
you
Better
Well,
same as
maybe
me then,
maybe
mate.
you found your two that you're good at then. To be fair, that's very good, mate. Fair
I
play.
think that's the line is drawn there. I think.
One thing that we haven't mentioned as well, which I'm sure Josh will be happy. I'm sure he knows anyway. But
Well, I have an
you are a
inkling about where you're
United
going
fan,
with
aren't
this.
you?
Yeah.
I may be a Manchester United fan. Yeah.
So
we did actually skip over the team player memory
we did.
stuff.
So if we will start with that. Obviously, we've come up with United. Who's your favourite player, past or present, for United?
Oh, Paul Scholes, 100%.
It was his 50th
Ideal.
birthday recently, I think. I heard.
What a
I
player!
imagine.
Yeah.
Unbelievable player.
You could tell by watching your game, though, James, as well.
Yeah, base your game on him.
Just missing
I
the
think
ginger
a lot
hair.
of people do that. Yeah.
Why
a lot of people
Scholes
do
then?
that, though.
Why
Hey?
Scholes?
I just see. I've started going to watch Bournemouth quite a lot recently in the last couple of years, and when I watch live football, I'm a sucker for watching like certain players.
Yeah.
I always just focus on like a centre midfielder because I just find them so interesting, and he's just so good at everything. You know, he can shoot, ping a long pass, short pass, tackle, put a tackle in. So great aggression.
Some of his tackling was dodgy, though.
It was ropey.
Aggressive little redhead, wasn't he?
Yeah, literally. And I'll put out a special mention to Skinhead Rooney as well. He's another one.
Yeah, love it. So you mentioned going to see Bournemouth a little bit. Is there a centre mid that you find yourself watching at Bournemouth, or that you enjoy watching there?
Yeah, I do. Obviously Lewis Cook.
Yeah,
is very good, tenacious little player. So
criminally underrated, I think.
Yeah, well, he played for England through youth level all the way through, and then he's just never been in the senior team, which I find very.
I think he got in it once. From
memory.
He has. Yeah, so he was the captain of the under-19s who won the World Cup. So we have in our midst at AFC Bournemouth a World Cup winner, the first one to pick it up since 1966. Obviously not at the same level, but he was a captain of that team, and I think he has won. I might be wrong. People might be shouting at the radio again, but I'm pretty sure he's got one or had one call up at least, because I know Bournemouth used to sing that, or still sing the Lewis Cook song, don't they? About him never giving the ball away, and he should have played for England or is going to play for England. And there's definitely some players that have kind of jumped him. I think like Adam Wharton, who doesn't seem to be getting much of a sniff. I think he might be injured now, but I thought with the latest pullouts, Lewis Cook should have been one of the players that should have been considered. But the club bias is often there, as we saw with Solanke, really.
Yeah, now he's straight in the team, even though he's been injured for half the season for Tottenham.
Yeah, and Pony. Now I say that now he's Spurs.
Yeah.
And back to United. Is there a moment or a reason why you think you support them? Have you inherited the legacy like Josh did, or is there a moment that made you think, yeah, this is the team that I want to support?
I think it comes down to my cousin sort of bullying me into it when I was younger, if I'm being totally honest.
Well, it was probably a good time when you were younger, though, wasn't it? It's not very different to now.
It was good, especially watching Van der Sar save that penalty in the 2008 final was probably my moment. But
yeah,
on the TV, of course.
It's a great shout. Yeah, absolutely. Sick, mate. Yeah, well, that's good, and it's good for Josh to have another United fan on. I know that we get a lot of grief about having Gooners on, so it's it's good to have
we'll come back to it in a bit. I think I did want to
United fans hide.
Yeah, you do at the moment.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, yeah, I was going to say. I think we'll come back to it if we've got some time to talk Man United in a little bit, mate, because I'd love to get your opinion on where they are now and where they could go, obviously amidst the new manager and stuff. But I did want to actually get back to your Man v Fat stuff, because we have gone through some of the kind of headline stuff.
Yep.
But I wanted to know if there was so when you said you started in, what was it, March 22, something like that?
Yeah, somewhere around then.
Yeah. How did you find it when you first started? Did you kick on quickly? Did you start slowly? How did you find you fit in? What's the?
I think I want to say, might have to get Dan to quote me on this, but I think the first 2 seasons, I don't think I gained weight. I think I lost weight pretty much for 2 seasons straight. So I think I hit the ground.
What, every week?
Yeah, every week.
Just lost weight.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know if my stats are on the Poole chat, but the first season, I think I lost about 20 kilos.
Wow, that's insane in one season.
In one season, I'm pretty sure.
What worked for you, James, do you think? What's your biggest change?
Well, my biggest change then was diet, probably playing football 1 or 2 times a week.
Yeah.
But
What did you do in your diet though? What is anything specific you changed, or is it just simply you just went cold turkey on some things?
I cut a lot of carbs out. I tried to eat like clean protein, like chicken and stuff like that. Tried to keep it as simple as possible. A lot of just drinking water and tea is about all I drink. Took sugar out of tea and stuff like that. Just like little.
Just brown water instead.
I don't drink either tea or coffee, but even I can tell that would be horrible.
When I do, I have to have 2 sugars.
I
couldn't even begin to imagine it without sugar.
That's how I used to have it, Builder's Cup. So yeah, things like that. I make sure I do 10,000 steps a day, every day. Just try and keep like at least half an hour exercise. Very boring, but effective.
Oh mate, so effective.
Have you found yourself struggling at any point doing that? Obviously, you say 10,000 steps a day. I imagine there are probably days where you haven't reached that. And same with, there's probably weeks you might have lost weight, but might not have been quite as good as the week before, etc. Is there any struggles in there that you found?
Yeah, I hit a massive plateau between I was still losing weight most weeks, but between 90 and 80 kilos, I found it really hard to lose weight.
Yeah.
Okay. But from 80 to 70 wasn't, that for some reason, I think obviously my body had gotten used to it, but I come down a lot quicker in them 10 kilos than the first 10 kilos. It's strange.
That's interesting. Yeah. What did you do to get past it? Was it reassessing everything that you were doing? I guess your trackers will always help with that sort of thing, won't it?
Yeah, I'm just a sucker for research. So obviously, I don't know if you know, but your body will take a month just to get used to a new diet or little changes, stuff like that. You've always got to give things a chance, even if you think they're not working.
Yeah.
Sort of one for doing stuff like that.
No, fair enough. You said, it's funny because you said something that made me kind of start a second. You said from 80 to 70, and I realised my maintenance is like 85. But I am 6'1", I guess. So
yeah, I'm very, very small.
Do you know what your maintenance is? Do you know what it is?
My maintenance is 70.5.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, 70.5.
Do you get close to that in the first instance?
I've hit maintenance before. Obviously now I've returned. I've put on quite a lot of my weight again. I think I've told Dan Lloyd I don't want to know my weight since I've gone back. Well, I've just had my first weigh-in, and obviously I know how much I've lost in this first week. But yeah, I don't actually know what I weigh at the moment.
No. How much did you lose though?
This week?
Yeah.
5.9 kilos.
Wow. So that's
like James, close to a stone.
James back to James then, isn't
it? However, I'd say beforehand I was not eating enough. I ended up getting a slight, I say a slight problem, quite a big problem with my heart where I was starting to pass out.
Oh shit.
Because my heart rate it was going into, when I was sleeping, it was going to like 33 beats per minute.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so that's another reason why I probably give it up for a bit, because I just completely I had heart scans and all sorts. Not many people know that. I think I've told Dan Lloyd, obviously, but
yeah. So do you think that was because of how sudden and how quickly you were losing the weight, or what did the doctor say?
So me personally, yeah, I think it was that, obviously, because I've gone from being so heavy to quite light in a small period of time.
Yeah.
Originally, the doctors thought it was a thing called a class AV block or something. I don't know if you guys know what it is, but basically the electronic side of your heart was like not sending like a signal. So every now and again you just faint. There's like 3 stages to it, but I was only stage 1, which is rare to faint.
Oh shit. Okay.
But now I look back at it, where I don't know if anyone listening gets cold fingers, but it isn't cold, it's probably because you haven't eaten enough.
Okay.
Well, I get that quite a bit, to be honest, actually. To be honest, I get my hands
yeah.
my extremities struggle. In particular, while I'm sitting here, my hands are warm and that, for example. But just randomly sometimes my hands get quite cold sometimes. But that's a good point actually. I didn't think about that.
I wasn't eating enough calories, so it was that, I think, because obviously if you don't eat enough, my heart muscle was getting weaker because I wasn't eating enough. As simple as that, to be honest.
Wow.
Oh, okay. So there's a thing to say, don't starve yourself
away from it.
Really?
Do not eat too little.
That was it. So funny enough, I was talking to Geordie. Obviously, we all know him as Fats. He came along to watch on Sunday, and he was saying that he's hit because he's lost loads, isn't he, Josh? He's done really well, and I think he's hit a bit of a plateau. But I think he is realizing that his calories are actually too low. He was in too much of a deficit. So I think there is, James, you'll know better than me in terms of the amount that you've lost, but your body almost goes into almost like what you suggested, almost like a survival mode where it starts storing stuff, and it feels like it's like your stomach thinks your throat's been cut. So it kind of like starts going, I don't know where my next food or next fuel is coming from, so I'm going to reserve the fuel. So there's a level of calories that, yes, you want to be in a deficit if you want to lose weight, but you don't want to be below. The lower you go into, the further you go into a deficit, this is where problems can happen. And
100%.
You might be losing more than you need to, and then the plateau hits and your body's kind of going, right, I'm quite happy where we are, and you've got to force it again. Well, you don't want to do that, do you? You want to do it gradually. You know better than me. I'm talking not from first-hand experience, but from what I understand and from what I've read. Does that ring true to you?
Yeah, it does. And this time I'm going to do. I know I've lost a lot in my first week, and it seems like I'll probably go back to my old self. But it's not that. It's obviously I've gained so much. That's why I've lost so much in this first week. But you're totally right. What was I going to say?
Just quickly, say you gain so much. Honestly, looking at you and meeting you for the first time in ages again at the weekend, that's not something I've noticed. So I guess there's an element of what I wouldn't want you to do is kind of get in your head about that, because I don't think other people are thinking that.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Do you know what I mean? And if you find yourself in getting into an unhealthy habit again with it, or sorry to suggest it was an unhealthy habit, but kind of the extreme levels of things and back to heart problems and things like that, it honestly, from my perspective, having not seen you probably for 6 months, maybe more, I didn't notice a difference. Do you know what I mean? I didn't go, oh Christ, James has pulled it back on. So just from a personal perspective, I think what you've done is you've done it. You've done absolutely amazing, and you should probably give yourself a bit more credit for it than what you do. But it sounds like you're going to be sensible this time around as well, and I think you've clearly got the ability to do it, and you're clearly very clued up and intelligent and smart enough to know what's best to do it this time around, or how's best to do it this time around. And that's something we always preach, don't we, Josh? And I think it rings true from when we've had the Man v Fat HQ on, around the sustainable side of things. And I know it's a conversation that we often say, and it feels like they're banging the same drum and we bang the same drum, and Steve does as well. And it's very good to have your name in lights every week in that team of the week. But it's the people that are consistently building through that period of time that are the ones that end up keeping it off, and it stays as a sustainable habit.
Yeah,
definitely.
Did you find, James? So I hope you don't mind asking, so you don't have to answer. But why do you feel you put weight back on when when you left Man v Fat? I presume it was.
I feel like I restricted myself so much that I just attacked everything that I hadn't had for probably a good 6 months, and just had an absolute spree of just like basically going back to my old self, I suppose.
Okay, so what did that entail, if you don't mind me asking?
Just like going back to takeaways, chocolate in the evenings, stuff like that. Having a fizzy drink every now and again. But it was just becoming more and more regular. And I spotted the problem before I come back to Christmas, so I thought I'd better come back for the discipline of the weighing, which I find really good.
Yeah. I guess it's just encouraging those healthy habits again, isn't it? It's really easy to slip into habits. It's hard to create like good ones, but it's really easy to slip into the bad ones, isn't it?
Did you said you were quite restrictive the first time you do around, and obviously you were very successful with it.
Yeah.
Do you think it? I mean, we've kind of alluded to this already, but I assume you think it was too restrictive. Did you just not give yourself anything at all ever, even at like weekends? Oh, I'll have a chocolate bar. I'll have this takeaway once a week, or what's it? Would you just? Yeah.
So I stopped literally everything. So even if it was someone's birthday, I wouldn't have anything there. Obviously, going away with the darts, if they're stopping to get a takeaway and stuff like that, I'm not having it, and I just kind of took everything away because I was so. What I would say is it was probably from 80 kilos to 70 kilos, where obviously I did lose a bit more weight quicker. I probably was just becoming obsessed with hitting maintenance, and I feel like that was my problem. I'd say from 112 to 80 kilos, I was probably quite normal in my diet, and I probably was just rushing my success.
I see what you mean. Yeah, absolutely it does. Yeah.
Because I was so focused on hitting maintenance, when actually, to be honest, now I'll probably won't go back there because I felt like it was too hard for me. I was too gaunched. I didn't feel healthy. I didn't feel good. I might have looked better, but I didn't feel as though I was,
Yeah. Well, there's going to be a healthy medium, isn't there? And for some people, and I know speaking to some people in the league, that their target isn't ultimately maintenance. Their target is to get down to just where they feel comfortable, while they know they are still overweight and they can lose some weight and they're not quite as healthy as they should be. And there's a few things and you just want to fix it sustainably. They'll keep going. But until you get to the stage where, like, I mean, Ollie won't mind me saying this. He said this multiple times to many people and on the podcast as well. He's a good example of someone who doesn't see maintenance as his target for where he wants to be. He's somewhere above maintenance, 4 or 5 kilos above maintenance, maybe. Just that's where he feels comfortable. And again, because of the slog in trying to get down there, he found it very difficult. So I can imagine if it's, say, with you, obviously, I guess it's a target, but I wouldn't like to think it's a necessity. I know that's probably the wrong thing to say.
No, I get what you mean.
League, but it's ultimately where you feel comfortable on some level. I guess some people could argue they're too comfortable where they are, and then but they still know they need to lose more. But
there's obviously such a thing as well, and James, you've alluded to it, so I'm not taking a piss with it. We know you're vertically challenged.
Yes,
but there's always a thing, isn't there? There's always when somebody's taller, they always say, "Oh, you carry it well." People carry weight well, or suit being a stockier person. When you're shorter, it's really difficult, isn't it? Because it doesn't take much from what I understand. Again, never having to have to worry about it, but it doesn't take much for you to kind of put the weight on and it be noticeable quickly, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you carry it a lot worse, don't you? And obviously you have to weigh less because you got less of you, I suppose.
yeah, and BMI has always been considered a proper archaic old measurement. Exactly, you're right. Yeah, so it's I get why it's used, and I get why that works for Man v Fat, but it's a difficult one, isn't it? And it's sometimes, as Ollie's mentioned and as you've mentioned, your target may very well not be maintenance this time round. It's more feeling healthy and feeling comfortable. And I guess that's all we could ever wish for, any of us, really, isn't it? That's where we want to be, and that's where we need to be, and that makes the difference. And that number is same as when you step on the scales each week. You might have a fluctuation. You might go, "Oh, this is a fuck it week," or "I can't be asked," or "I've tried really hard this week and it's not giving me what you want." But I guarantee, if you've had a good week, you probably feel better if you didn't know that number. If you hadn't weighed, because some people weigh themselves before on a Friday, they go, "Oh, I feel really good. I've had a good week. I'm looking forward to playing football this evening," whatever that may look like. Jump on a scale and you might have only lost 100 grams, or you may have put on more than you expected. That's that fuck it moment, and that's that moment where you got to go, actually, I feel happy, I feel healthy, I feel good, I
Yeah.
feel like I've done everything I should do this week. And there's often lag weeks as well, isn't there? There's weeks that you do something and nothing really moves, and then the next week you're a little less on it and it moves the complete opposite way. Rhyme and rhythm doesn't always kind of fit in that way. So yeah, I think I don't want to tell you how you do it, and you're the man with the experience, James. But having been with Man v Fat for like 3.5 years, I've seen it all before. I've seen these things happen
there's
before.
so many different stories, isn't there? So
yeah,
different ways.
So many different stories, but there's also so many similarities to everybody's story.
Yeah.
And there's the other thing I was saying before we move on, Josh, sorry to keep going, is that there's always, I've always had a negative perspective of somebody that's completely obsessed with it, but there is absolutely nothing wrong with being obsessed with being healthy. That's probably the best obsession that anybody can have for themselves or for their family. If you're obsessed with being healthy and obsessed with getting healthy, then fair play, be it. But when that obsession oversteps the mark and you see unhealthy traits, unhealthy habits, crash diets and yo-yos and things like that, those things stick out. So being obsessed with being healthy is a really good thing. A really, really good thing.
Well, I was going to ask you, James, because obviously you've had the drive, the determination to get there. What would you say that is behind that, that's in Man v Fat that you haven't found maybe outside of Man v Fat? Is it just the weigh-in itself, the daunt? Is it just you feel in your head it's a daunting prospect? You need to be on the right side of it, or is it?
I'd say I really like the social side of like going to the club, seeing all the boys, and the discipline of the weigh-in for me is a major factor, if I'm being totally honest.
Yeah.
Because if I go on a spiral of eating crap, and if I have the weigh-in on the Monday, it kind of stops that, and it makes it a week-to-week thing, and not I've had a bad start to the month, I'm gonna have a bad month sort of thing.
Yeah.
My other problem is I hate losing, so I've got to do everything in my being to not lose.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, I was just kind of looking at more of an examination of my own situation, if you don't mind me talking quickly. Right? It was because that's something I know I had when I very first started, and I feel like I go through fluctuations where I feel like that weigh-in alone is enough to just like kick me up the arse, but I'm not sure that's always been the case. So there comes times so basically what I'm saying is, in the short form, is that I really admire your determination and drive for it, because I think ultimately that's the one thing that I have maybe not got to the level I need to in order to lose my weight. I agree. That's just where it is.
Same with me, mate.
And exactly what I was saying is being too comfortable where I am, which is not. Honestly, it sounds strange. I would give anything not to be comfortable where I am, because then I would start really kicking myself a little bit more, and I do to some extent, and enough to have lost some weight definitely in this journey. So obviously the weigh-in and the team aspect and not wanting to let anyone down, that kind of thing, has done enough, but maybe not as much as it should have.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's anything you did differently alongside that to keep your motivation high. Is there anything particular you did that you felt?
So I don't know if you guys know this, but I actually live with Mike, as I'm dating his daughter.
Okay.
So having someone else in my household do Man v Fat with me, that is also very good at losing all the weight, is very helpful.
Yeah.
And the family are like super supportive in like the meals and stuff like that. So, you know, if they're cooking one sort of dinner and we can't have it, we can have something else, kind of thing. So we are very lucky in that manner. So, yeah, I'd say that helps me a lot. Doing it with somebody else.
The support of somebody else on exactly the same thing as you. Yeah.
Oh, it's a shame my brother is pretty slim and healthy and athletic. If I was to get him involved, and maybe then I'll be like, okay, mate, this. But you've been there, Jack, so you know what the brother thing is.
It worked for a little bit, but they both my brothers were very, very good at doing it and just left me behind. Like they shed the weight, and one's left and one's still doing well. And yeah, everyone's different, I think, in that perspective. And I still find myself sat here, like I said, it is mildly depressing, sat here 3.5 years in, still searching for that moment of that spark moment, that moment of inspiration. But one thing I heard Russ say on their podcast, and they say about how, or he said about how, and it's always really important to remember how bad it could have been if you weren't in this program.
Definitely. So, there's someone else called Russ in the Poole Club that says exactly the same. He was like, although I've only lost like 2 kg over my time, imagine how much I could have put on.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
And also the fact that you're still looking after 3 years to find a way to help you to do something is good enough in itself.
Yeah.
Because you're still carrying on. You're still trying to find a way what suits you, because everybody's different, aren't they? So.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, there's a lot of people, as we know, who aren't in ManVFit, who maybe, I'm not saying they don't go to the gym, for example, but maybe aren't trying. By the very virtue of being here for however many years, still trying shows that there is some drive and determination. Yeah, maybe so. I have been on occasion.
I definitely can relate to what you said with having some time off, James, as well. The time I had off, I think I put on 6 or 7 kg, and that proves to me, that the last 2 weeks that I've not jumped on the scales. I don't dare jump on the scales, but I know the last 2 weeks, because I've kind of given myself the weeks off. I know that I would be worse off without it entirely. If that makes sense. If I lived like this without it, then I'd be worse, and that's a really important thing to take from it, and where we all need to get healthier and work on those healthier habits. It can take a year, it can take somebody 6 months, it can take somebody 2 seasons, like it is with Josh Buxton. There's no shade cast on anybody that's at either end of that journey, and that's the amazing thing about it. You mentioned what makes you come back, James, and what makes you work so hard is the camaraderie and being around the boys and having that relationship and that place to go where it's a kind of a taboo subject is able to be spoken about. And I don't know if obviously never been involved with Poole's League, only knowing the majority of them there. Where we are is that it's not something that we shy away from. If somebody is looking like they're down, Ollie mentioned it on his interview with BBC Solent. If somebody is looking down, there's somebody there to put an arm around you and somebody there to have a conversation with you. So makes a big difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And I really wish Bournemouth wasn't on a Friday night, because I'd love to play in that league.
Oh, we'd love to have you as well, mate.
Yeah.
I don't know how, like, having only done Bournemouth, I'd struggle with the Monday, but I guess it's a routine that becomes yours. I'd worry, because my weekends unfortunately is where I do tend to properly let my hair down, and I would find, because it's similar for my wife as well, where she's on it in the week, and then we kind of have a takeaway or a Saturday night in. It's generally the nights that we spend together with not having to worry about what's happening the next morning, or not have to get up for work or school the next morning. It makes a difference, doesn't it? But each to their own.
That, there are a couple of people obviously in both leagues.
There is.
And they have said to me that having the Monday in the other league has actually been really beneficial to them, because it means that they can't slack off so much at the weekends, and it keeps them honest, basically.
Keeps them honest, exactly.
During the what is potentially the most susceptible period, obviously the weekend. So
who are the crossover players? Is it Jesus?
A couple of Dans. So Dan Keats.
Yeah.
He does both. Dan Lloyd, obviously, because he's the coach.
Yeah.
Those are the two I definitely know of.
Jesus
Mark
does it,
Simpson.
doesn't he?
Jesus isn't there
Mark
anymore.
Simpson, of course. Yeah.
Mark Simpson. Yeah.
Sorry, Mark. Yeah.
Rich Webb, maybe. I know he's done both previously.
Yeah, I know he's done previously as well. Yeah.
So there's a couple anyway, but
yeah, amazing. Okay, And from your perspective, Josh, you've got anything else for James? I think he's covered
There was there was something I was going to ask, but I can't remember precisely what it was.
Was it United?
It was. Well, we can come back to that if you want while I'm thinking of my Man v Fat question.
Yeah.
I was just more thinking. I'm just trying to think of small things that I was going to ask you, James. There was something important, but I think I'll have to ask you away from the podcast to save the listeners me
fumbling around looking for it.
Yeah, for the next 20 minutes. Anyway, I do have a little bit of time, so come on then, let's talk some football then, James. Man United, as we're here briefly. I assume you follow them pretty closely. So what do you think, where they are now, where they're going, that kind of stuff?
Well, I'm very optimistic about Amorim, if I'm being totally honest. I am quite excited by the prospect of having a young manager, and I don't know if you've seen it, the first training session with him.
Yeah.
Seems to be he's very
getting stuck in, then he got his boots on.
He's very interactive. Yeah, backing in the Johnny Evans, making him win the ball for him, stuff like that. So
it reminds me when I saw videos of Eddie Howe come out first training session when he first started in Newcastle, when I followed that.
Yeah.
And the players were like looking around. Why is he kicking the ball? It's like he's the coach.
Didn't him and Johnny Evans play against each other?
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
they played against each other. Yeah, from an outside looking in, I'm sure I said it either last week or the week before. I would be positive if I was United. I really like the look of him. I like the cut of his jib. I like what he says. I like how he comes across. I like his energy, enthusiasm, and I think that's exactly what United needed. And you're not going to see. You might see some instant results, and I don't think Ipswich is the best team to gauge it against unless you're Tottenham and you're happy just to give them points. That's not the team that you want to. That's not the team that you want to gauge it against. It's when those bigger ones come knocking. I think that's where you'll see the slight changes he's made or making come to fruition, and hopefully get some of these injured players back. Like Luke Shaw's not played for ages. Is he anywhere near playing anytime soon?
Yeah, he was in that training session.
Yeah,
was
he?
So
well, there you
go. Unbelievably.
As a left centre back.
Malacia does exist.
Yeah, Malacia was at left back. Luke Shaw at left centre back in that. So interesting to see that.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. I'd be watching from afar. What I want him to do well. I want him to do well because he's likeable, and I don't really have too much. The Arsenal United rivalry's years gone, isn't it? And I hope it reignites. But I want United to do well. I'd like to see them do well.
So, James, what do you reckon is realistic this season then? Assuming, I think there's kind of two ways of looking at it really. All goes well and all goes very poorly. I think we know there's two ends there.
Yeah, but there's
What do you think's realistic?
I'm kind of on the same thing Jack was saying last week about how it would be better for United to finish outside of the Europa Conference League. Yeah. If we get into Europa League, that's fine. But I feel like we're going to sit in between those positions. But I really don't want us to finish. I think it 8th or 7th or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's something. Yeah.
But
top 4, then 2 more. Yeah, it must be 7th or 8th.
They're only a few points off top 4, aren't they, at the moment? Well, like a lot of teams are.
Yeah,
like 3 points off top 4 or something. Yeah. So in theory, top 4 is still realistic, isn't it? So,
I'd hopefully
do you
go
think it's not?
6th or something like that. I'd hope for, if I'm optimistic, but if I'm being realistic, probably 7th or 8th. But let's see how much of a run he goes on. Hopefully he can prove me wrong, to be honest.
Well, that's fair enough. At least you're a realistic Man United fan. Like me, you just said top 4. But I think it's funny. I listened to quite a lot of the whole thing about the fan base, and there's a lot of discussion about, he's going to bring back glory days, as there always is going to be with a new manager, and the optimism, and Man United need to win leagues in the next 2 seasons, and blah blah blah, which is, you always get that end of the spectrum. Yeah, exactly. But you're always going to get that from some hardcore fans. But
I like the idea of the fans getting on side and wanting to see the team kick on and get back to a stronger position. You want that, don't you? That's what. If you didn't have that being spoken about, I know there's with it in the next 2 years may very well be unrealistic. You just never know what's going to happen. But it's you've got to have that. You've got to have that faith and that will. And if he inspires you to think that way, then crack on. All good.
I think ultimately for me, and I don't know if James agrees with me, the biggest difference, even in just the first week, is that he's just a charismatic man.
Yeah.
He clearly is not going to struggle, in my mind at least. Obviously, there's already arguments about whether he'll be able to put his foot down hard on some players who, egos, etc. But the fact that he's clearly quite good, going to be quite good with the press and probably quite good with the players, just lifts. Ten Hag was very Dutch, as you mentioned, very,
Yeah.
and I just don't. I think that ultimately has led to part of his downfall is that he didn't keep the players on side. He was very much, and he wasn't particularly charismatic. I think that's going to help Amorim, the fact that he is, to
I
bring
just
that
think
back.
he's
So
confident within himself, confident in his abilities and what he's doing is working. So
Yeah.
I feel like Ten Hag was very defensive about what he was trying to do.
yeah.
So
We'll
see.
yet to see though, isn't it? Because pressure of
Yeah.
Man United's always huge. The players haven't done it in the last decade, so they keep swapping managers. So
Whilst we're on Manchester, 47 minutes ago, I got a notification from Sky Sports that Pep Guardiola has signed a 2-year extension. It was suggested it was only going to be 1 year, wasn't it? But he has signed a 2-year extension.
I thought I thought they basically just redid it so that he can extend it at the end of this year rather than it expiring. That's what I had originally thought. So a 2-year extension would actually keep him on at least definitely a decade.
Yeah.
Definitely to have a decade. Sorry, at the club.
Does that tell me they've just dropped the charges and he knows about it already?
Yeah.
Well, people have been saying that straight away.
That's
Actually,
what it's
been hearing
gonna be,
that. Yeah, been hearing that people think, oh, that must mean he knows something.
Or he just fancies a challenge in League Two. You just don't know, do you?
Yeah.
We can only hope. But that's an interesting one, I think. And what we can be cynical and say, is it got anything to do with the charges? But at the same time, it's not good for it's good for the league to have the best managers in the league, but it's not good for the rest of us, for rivals. When he's about and he's in charge of that team, he's always going to be competing, isn't he? Was he only not won twice, maybe?
Yeah. Well,
Not
the
won the
other
league
week
twice.
They were talking about potential crisis, and they're 3 points. Well, they're 5 points off the top, but like they're playing poorly, and they're still there or thereabouts. So
yeah.
Crisis. And we know what they're like back into the season. So
it's all relevant, isn't it? And it's all relative, I should say. And to them, losing 4 in a row and all competition is relative, regardless if you didn't really fancy the game against Spurs in the cup. I think that's who they've got at the weekend as well, so it will be interesting. I think Spurs are a City's bogey team.
Well, you say that without Van der Ven and Romero, I believe.
Yeah, well, that's
centre halves.
Yeah, God knows who they're going to have at the back then. Ben Davis and Son, maybe.
Dragonson.
Something like that.
Dragonson, yeah, God. Yeah, so that's interesting. I'm trying to think what else has happened this week, Josh. Obviously, with England have had the 2 games since we spoke, and
no more international breaks until March.
Thank God for that. What a relief. I think the players that I don't really want to spend too much time on it, but the players that came in for the dropouts for whatever reason actually played really well. I think I didn't watch either of the games, only really highlights, but not because I was intentionally avoiding it and being cynical about it. What I also liked as well is that that Jude, I felt like Jude stepped up. There's a thing about Jude, and there's a lot of people suggesting that he's arrogant or whatever. That the guy's growing into a man, isn't it? You got to remember how young he still is, and what he's doing is he's realising his potential, I think, and he carried that England team. I don't think Kane did particularly well, but I think Jude liked being the big man in the team. Do you know what I mean? He liked being the main man in it, and it certainly showed off in the games when he played. And I hate the English fans that just want to shoot somebody down that's doing well and that playing well. If he was Spanish and struts around the pitch the way that he does, he'd be God's gift and everybody would love him because he's English. Or it's not the English thing to do, or it's not the English way to be. Fuck that. Let him be who he is and crack on.
One thing I did, a quick question. I heard this. James might have heard this as well. Depends if he watches the overlap. Basically, about whether Harry Kane's on his last kind of, whether this is the beginning of his end as such. because he looked a bit out of place in the time he did play.
I think he did as well.
Yeah, he looked a little bit off it. So, okay, he scores penalties for fun, but we know that. So it's like...
He did hit an absolute worldie of a pass for Jude.
The through ball, yeah.
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 Is he?
I think I need to watch this
because
I don't think I've seen it.
But...
He's going to drop into a centre mid, isn't he?
Turning into a centre mid.
I don't know if he was the kind of player who would do that, even if he's capable of doing it. But it was just a question to posit to you guys about whether he think it's... I don't know what his role is going to be in the World Cup, you see.
Or is it that German football is making him slower? I don't know. Different type of football. I don't know how it affects him playing with these guys. I don't know.
I don't think there's a good enough forward to replace him at the moment. Out of Watkins and Solanke, neither of them are.
I don't know.
Level,
but you've got
even where he is now.
I think you've got to give him a chance though, because I think with the young players, as you saw this international break, is that clearly a team like Greece, who can be a problem. Let's be honest, for most people, handled them much better than they did the first time when they had all their stars.
Yeah,
and I think it's just a level of youthful exuberance and.
They do need to give him a chance, but both players, Watkins and Solanke, are getting their chances at Premier League level, which inevitably are going to be pretty much every centre-back pair in Premier League is international level anyway.
I'm doing pretty well there, though.
That's what I mean. So that's you say about them getting their chance. I think that's where that they are getting their chance at that level. What you want them to do, and what Tuchel's only got him for 18 months. He's not going to go, let's try this person, or I'm going to try this person. He is going to pick the best team to win as quickly as he can, because he does not have that luxury of time. That Southgate is, trust the process with Southgate. He's building, he's bringing these players through. He needs players turning up to those international camps, firing, scoring goals. If they're not there. I think, and I genuinely think he'll pick the right player, the players that are scoring goals he'll pick. But it'd be interesting to see what happens with Kane.
Anyway, very last question to you, James. Back quickly on the Man United just before we've skimmed over it. Much quicker than any Arsenal discussion we ever had.
Not sure about that.
Yeah. All purples.
No, all purple talk.
I just wanted to know if you've got any particular hot takes for Man United. Any particular players who you think you want to get rid of, which most people don't, or you want to get in that most people think is ridiculous, or sign Johnny Evans for the next decade, that kind of thing?
I think Mason Mount's going to be really effective in the new system.
Oh,
yeah. Actually, I don't think that's a hot take. I agree with you, but
really?
I mean, mainly because I'm a Man United fan.
That'd be why. So from my perspective, he seems washed. I thought the impression I get is that he's done.
He'll be good. I think he'll be good in one of those number 10s, the 2 10s that Amarin's going to play. I think one of them would be perfect for him, to be honest. But sorry, James, I've ruined your hot take by agreeing with you.
By agreeing with him, yeah.
I think my hot take was Bruno Fernandes. I reckon. No. I actually think he is. He's by far the best player, but I actually think he will. He'll leave Man United before Amarin does.
Yeah, I think he'll be
gone in the next couple of years.
He'll probably suffer from the system.
Yeah.
And
do you think there'll be a clash of personalities with him?
No, I don't.
He just will not.
No.
I think Bruno had the opportunity to leave in the summer and was probably told by United what was going to happen, I'd imagine.
Where
he
would he
seems
go?
to have some sort of... probably Barcelona. They take any bloody person now, don't they?
So. We have no money, and then sign someone.
Sell off their rights and buy someone.
You find out he's owned by Spotify.
Yeah,
loaned to Barcelona.
He's great. I hope he'll flourish. But I don't think he'll leave because of the Portuguese connection.
Okay.
I genuinely think he'll get along really well with Amarin.
Yeah.
Partly because he's Portuguese, but I just we'll see. I think there's some players that are going to surprise me. Anthony Resurgence. Right wing back. Yeah, he won't be there. He is a 4th choice winger, but he's also one of the best defensive wingers in the Premier League. If you
he is a great defensive winger. Yeah,
he actually is. So anyway. I'm going to have to go on at one more then, Jack. Sorry. We're gonna have to
just quickly, with Amarin, was he was he Sporting Lisbon? Is that where he played?
No, he played for Braga, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, right. So he's not. Okay. That was my only question. I wasn't too sure. I was just wondering if he did ever cross over with playing with Fernandez or coaching him at any point or anything.
We'll see how this goes. I'm optimistic, very, but that's always what you get on the eve of the first game. 20 minutes into Ipswich, 1-0 down. Things will change pretty quickly.
Yeah, Delap bullet header.
I watched him in that under-21s game. He is a unit.
He's a big old boy, isn't he?
He's a big
old boy. Yeah. Anyway, we must let Josh go because he's got some Thursday night football to get to. Yeah, and obviously, James, thank you so much for joining us, mate. We really appreciate your time and your insight, and all the best with rejoining and your journey. Obviously, only being week 1 in of the new James, and if you do ever get the opportunity to join on a Friday night as well, then you are.
I'll take it. Yeah.
Please do. We'd love to have you, mate. But yeah.
Thank you for coming on. I think it's really admirable, by the way, that you've done so well, such amazing achievement, and then you've gone away. Okay, things have kind of gone not slightly off the rails, but like, you know what I mean, maybe the wrong direction.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
then you've gone, I need to come back to this and go again. And I think personally that's really, shows the drive and determination you have, shows the commitment, and also love for it.
Yeah. What I'll do at the end of the season is I'll send you my stats and see how well I've done, shall I?
Amazing, mate.
Yeah, please do. Yeah, absolutely.
What week? Do you know what week you're in? What week have you joined in the season?
Week 1.
Ah, okay. It's worked out well then. Okay.
New draft. Yeah, it's really good.
Ah, sick. Okay, so yeah, that'd be really interesting. That'd be really good to know with Christmas smack bang in the middle of it as well. So yeah, that's always a challenge. So sound. Okay, mate. Well, thank you again. Thank you everybody for listening. Please, obviously, share it where you can. And if you do fancy, you've listened for a few episodes.
Well, we have been on for over a year.
It does feel like it, mate. Yeah. If you've been listening for a few episodes and would like to join us, like James has, we'd be more than happy to have you. So yeah, just drop us either of us a message, and have a great week, everybody.
Thank you very much. Cheers, James.
Top stuff. Cheers, James.
Thank you, guys. Cheers.